It is such an honor to be here today. I'm really excited for this panel. My name's Joey Rosenberg, and I'm the Chief Leadership Officer for Women Who Code. We are the world's largest movement dedicated to inspiring women to excel in technology careers. And it's an absolute honor to spend this time chatting with three incredible leaders in the Women Who Code community, but also incredible technology leaders and technologists themselves. And so we're going to unpack leadership in technology and pathways to leadership. So please help me welcome our panelists. I'm going to ask each of you to introduce yourself and just let the community know a little bit about you. Tell us what you do, what your community leadership roles are, and tell us something that you've accomplished in your technical career that might surprise people. Jane, let's give a big welcome to you and kick things off with you.
Thank you. My name is Jane Shih. I'm the Women Who Code Taipei Senior Director. In my daytime, I'm the founder and CEO of educator.co. It's a technology platform. We wanted to connect the technology professionals and especially building the communities for women in tech. So, my daytime job is working with women in tech, and my nighttime job is volunteering for, women in tech organizations. And I'm super happy for doing what I do every day.
Fantastic, and thank you so much for joining at such an early hour in your part of the world. Swati, you are an equally early hour at the moment. Thank you so much for joining us. Please introduce yourself and let us know what you do.
Thanks, Joey, and thanks VMware and Women Who Code for this opportunity. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning for people joining in from different time zones. I'm Swati Ahmed Rao and have been associated with VMware for past 10 years and Senior Director for Women Who Code Bangalore. For about last 5 years, I have been associated with Women Who Code. I have a patent on high availability approved from US Patent Attorney. I have presented my papers, research papers in different national, international conferences on technologies like IoT, blockchain, and I recently pursued PG diploma in machine learning. I participate in different hackathons and have won several awards. And I have been also on the judging panel in different hackathons, one of them being the Smart India Hackathon, which is the biggest hackathon in the world organized by Government of India. I'm also part of the core team who designed VM Inclusion Tara, a highly impactful initiative from VMware in collaboration with Women Who Code, which aims at upskilling 15,000 women and help them to return back to work. And I also drive different technical and D&I initiatives at VMware India. I have also been awarded with VMware's prestigious EPIC 2 awards and several other awards from VMware, as well as I have been awarded with Applaud Her 2019 from Women Who Code, and I was granted scholarship from Google to attend Google I/O 2018, and I have been motivational speaker in different conferences. So this is all about me.
Thank you so much for spending some time with us today, Swati. Katarina, welcome to the panel. Please take a moment and introduce yourself. Let everyone know a bit about your background and some things that might surprise them to hear.
Hi, I'm Katarina. So excited to be here. Thank you for the invite. Really excited to participate in this conference. So I'm Katarina. Right now, I work on the computer science faculty at a university in Portland. And that's not what I always did. I've kind of been doing a lot of different things. I really started out as an engineer, and I've worked for several companies, co-founded my own, was acqui-hired, and then I decided to, around the 10-year mark, I actually kind of decided to do something a little bit different, which is what led me into education, and doing that for about a year. And very much like Jane, I feel like I work with technology during the day, and then in my free time, I essentially help with Women Who Code Portland. I've been doing this for about 6 years, and on top of my work responsibilities, one of the most rewarding things has really been building a huge team of volunteers and leaders for Women Who Code Portland. One thing that might be a little bit surprising is I co-founded a startup, and we technically were acqui-hired, so it's sort of like a success story. So that's always kind of cool.
Awesome. I'm really excited to talk about leadership with the three of you today. For the community watching this, definitely drop your questions in the chat. These women have incredible experiences in their professional lives and beyond, as you've already heard. So definitely drop your questions in the chat. First, I want to start out with chatting just a little bit about the reality for women in the technology industry. So right now, about a third of women are feeling stalled in their career and thinking that they might leave tech. And by mid-career, about half of women leave the industry. And this is true around the world in different cultures. And so I'd love to hear from your thoughts about what we can really do to help women move through this career breakpoint. Why is it important for us to reverse this trend? And Katerina, you've spoken a lot about this in your time as a community leader. I'd love to get your thoughts on this.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, I had to unmute myself. Yeah, that's something that we hear all the time. That's something that I've heard from friends. That's also something that I really felt like doing as well, sort of taking a little bit of a break, you know, from tech, but like staying a little bit of tech adjacent. Oftentimes, what we're really hearing is, you know, a couple of different stories. Essentially, women not getting enough support. You know, it's sort of like the microaggressions that you deal with every day, but also really not getting the support that you need to get to that next level, not getting support, whether it be from management, whether it's just, you know, like a toxic culture, but essentially, you know, just not seeing yourself being promoted and getting those raises at the same rate as, you know, some of your fellow coworkers. And I think with the years that sort of starts to kind of like wear on you. And if you haven't established that community of people who are going to be there to support you, and that's kind of what we do with Women Who Code. If you can't establish that sort of community at work, you know, at least you can establish it with our organization, Women Who Code Portland. And so that's one of the stories that we kind of see. But the other story that we see quite a bit of is something similar, but essentially women taking time off, or maybe not even taking time off, but essentially becoming mothers. And part of what happens there is the story that we hear a lot from our members is just women being really happy to still have a job and not necessarily, you know, like asking management to get that promotion that they should be getting. And then it's only, you know, a few years later that they kind of like go back, essentially like asking management to get those promotions. And that's really unfortunate because, you know, like women are just not being promoted at the same rates. And I think a lot of the frustration around that is why we see so many essentially, you know, go do something else or leave or not be as content with their roles. And I think, and to answer the second part of your question really quickly, you know, I really believe that what we need to do is really make sure that these women have a strong community around them. And, you know, if there's organization like ours, but there's so many organizations available, and, you know, getting that support, we can't succeed on our own. We need that support.
Yeah, that is so true, Katerina. Having a community is critical for anybody to succeed, especially in this field. Swati, you've talked a lot about demystifying the leadership ladder and your own experience. When I first met you, you shared a lot of your technical knowledge, but I was surprised to hear about how challenging it can be to really climb the ladder and demystify that leadership ladder. Could you talk a little bit from your perspective about what you've seen and how you think we can do that? Sorry, Swati, you're just on mute.
Yeah. So people who know me a decade ago, they say they are seeing Shweta 2.0. is a kind of difference that they are seeing in me. So it's always important for women to know what they want to do, the goal of where they want to see themselves for next 3 to 5 years. Setting those right kind of goals are very important. Understanding what they are good at, what they are passionate about, and getting that right kind of support from the mentors and from the organization will always help in growing. Growth need not be just in terms of vertical. It can be horizontal as well, because many people try to look at just the vertical growth, but they tend to miss out the horizontal pieces which actually help in growing in the vertical way as well. Along with this, many a times, as Katrina was mentioning, one of the common reason and the biggest challenge is post maternity. People, women try to take a break because they don't know how to handle the situations, and a couple of them also come and ask me about these things. So the best way would be to ask for the help from the family, from the organization, because organization have realized the impact that could be on the organization as well as in the industry. So ask for help. The second important thing is try out for possible options. Talk to your peers who have gone through similar phases, how they were able to overcome these challenges, and try to understand those aspects as well. It is very important to reverse this trend because if this is not addressed now, then industry is going to lose some of the potential women leaders, as well as the diversified thoughts that can have a big impact on the business. So it is important from both the individual as well as from the organization perspective to address these challenges.
Thank you, Swati. I'd like to talk a little bit about those different opportunities that you could try out. Jane, you have shared about how being a community leader can really open up opportunities and influence your career. Could you share your thoughts around how those things are connected and what you can gain from being a community leader?
Well, I'm super happy to join this panel to talk about the experience of being a community leader, especially because over the time I think I've been volunteering for Women Who Code for about 6 years, and this is really a learning and a great learning process for me. So, for example, in the beginning when we started a very small meetup, we have to run a lot of the meetups by ourselves, and one of the things I found is when you trust people, they actually perform super well, and much better than the initial expectation. So for example, like one of the times I have to make sure all the programs goes well, but one of the programs I never touched was run by a volunteer, and I had to trust her enough that she can run by herself, and then to scope the entire programs, and even to negotiate or talk with our partners. In the beginning, I was a little bit nervous, but when I just tell her that you can do well, because I can only rely on you to do this, she just lead. She just led the entire way. So I have to say this is one of the things I learned through the community as being a leader, and really witness the changes of when you're trusting people. This is really what you get. And I can also tell, I can feel a lot regarding when you grow women, they give back. So I never feel tired of volunteering for a lot of different organizations, especially when I see when you grow women in tech under Women Who Code, they come back to to help. Not only on the event production, a lot of time they actually come back to mentor some of other women in tech, and also when they share the experiences, they actually feel like they are empowered more to grow even better in their careers. So these are the things I feel like being a community leaders, we can see people's growth. You can mentor, you can coach them to be the next leaders of the entire community. And at the same time, you actually are moving the entire ecosystem of making a better life, a better life for the next generation to become the future leaders. So this is a thing that I feel I learned a lot.
Wow, that sounds amazing. It makes me want to have that kind of experience in the workplace with my own team and my own manager. Trust is something that's so important. Katerina, you've talked a lot about what makes a great manager within our community. Could you talk a little bit about what is a great manager? How do you get to that spot? If you are there, what should you be thinking about, and what should you expect from your manager?
Yeah, I mean, it's a hard role, and obviously there's lots of different responsibilities associated with it, but I think it's really important for everyone to remember that a manager is someone who is supposed to support and sponsor their work, and it's someone who's really going to be, it's one of the first people who's going to be in charge of your career growth, your promotions, your raises, and so it's really important that you establish great communication. It's really important that you realize that you ask for things of your manager and that you see them follow up on all of those things. And I think, so I have students now that I teach, and a lot of times in college, even with master students, people turn in homework and people turn in tests and then they get a grade. And so they assume that their work speaks for itself, which it does in college, but beyond that, it doesn't. And so the next step is really how you can make your work speak for itself and how you can give your manager what they need, like what documentation they need for the work that you did so that they can help you along in your career progression. But in terms of, I think it's really important that it's someone that you have a good relationship with, and it's someone that's willing to be there for you, to support you, but also very important to sponsor your work.
Amazing. So if I'm sitting in this team, I'm imagining I'm an engineer in an organization, and I'm thinking about my future, and I'm seeing all this potential, and I'm asking for it. Quite often I'll come to this point where I'm asked to choose between technical growth and leadership growth. So there's this tech pathway and people pathway, and at some point in time, it's inevitable that a manager will drop that question in your lap. I'd love to unpack this a little bit because they're so connected, and there's so many different ways to think about this. Swati, can you help us start here? And Jane and Katerina, I know you have different experiences, so I'd love to hear you weigh in on this too. How do you choose? What should you be thinking about when you're thinking about your leadership journey in these two different pathways?
So leadership actually could be on the tech as well as on the managerial front. Leaders are someone whom people follow. It's not like by power, rather by their passion and their commitment and the way they drive the things. So irrespective of technical or managerial, one thing is clear: the industry has moved a long way. There is no more called as just a people manager kind of roles. The industry looks for people who can handle both technology as well as have the kind of empathy and build relation with the people perspective as well when it comes to managerial role. And if you look into the technical role, even there, right, it is not like you're just contributing individually. Rather, people also look from the other side as well on how you take the team along with you. What are the kind of impact that you make? Not just from the technology perspective, but taking people together. So it is like now things are getting much more closer. So there is very thin line between these two. It's very important to understand, as I was mentioning, that understanding what our goals are, what we want to do. Also talking to people around or leaders or the mentors to know like how did they choose what they wanted to do, and trying out some of the opportunities are very important. For instance, you can go and explore a couple of hackathons to see like how things work, to get more into different technology. You may be currently working on some of the technologies only, but it should not stop you from learning new technology and see what you enjoy. On the managerial front, I think communities are the best way, because you get to talk to lots of people. You build leaders. Actually, we have built so many leaders within Women Who Code itself. So those are some of the opportunities that we have to explore proactively, not just always waiting for the organization to come and give the opportunity, but we should own our career to understand what our goals are and what our vision is.
Amazing. Katerina or Jane, do you want to also add to that?
I'll jump in. The only thing I wanted to add to that is, you know, we need more women in both the technical track and the management track. But the one argument that I would make for the management track is that all of a sudden you have, you know, all of a sudden you get to lead a team, and that the impact that you can have can be really incredible, because you get to hire people, you get to promote them, but also you get to, once you sort of become a manager and you kind of get a better understanding of how people are hired into different roles, how they can negotiate, what salary bands are. That's really something that you can go as a woman and take back to your community and empower so many people with that information. And, you know, I think there's a lot of impact in terms of like getting more women into tech that you can have that way. So I think that's really important because, you know, that entire process, you know, needs to be demystified for people.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a couple questions coming in from the audience. Jane, if you have more to add, I want to definitely make sure you have a chance to have a voice, but also I'd love for you to maybe respond to some of the questions coming in from the audience. So the first question is, what inspired you to get into tech in the first place? So Jane, maybe you could take that one. And then the other question coming in, so you all can start thinking about it. What language do you suggest a new coder to learn first? So Jane, let's start with what inspired you to get into tech?
I actually got an MBA, majored in finance entrepreneurship in New York many years ago. And when I joined eBay in the Silicon Valley, you know, also many years ago, it was really by accident. And, you know, I got into tech actually by accident and got in, you know, really, I work in the data center department under eBay, the technology operations. Every day I work with engineers, but I track their budgets and I have to negotiate with the vendor to buy the best assets, you know, like data center assets for them, servers, equipment, and everything else. So that's where I started to really feel like I wanted to be part of it, and I really wanted to be learning every day with that too. So this is really what inspired me. Wanted to stay in the tech space, and also wanted to serve essentially for our technology professionals at the end of the day, because it's just fascinating to stay in tech and really just, you know, learning humbly with all the people around me is something that, you know, I inspire me every day.
How about you, Katerina? What inspired you to get into tech?
I always really enjoyed building things, and it's something that I got a chance to do in various jobs, but also like at the startup that I worked at. I was like that kid who just liked tinkering with things and making stuff happen. And I still love doing that. And yeah, sometimes I wish I could just like remain like, you know, like a software engineer who just like works on like code all the time, but I don't do that anymore. But sometimes it's still sort of like some of my favorite days, just like working with code.
That's awesome. Swati, how about you?
For me, it is all about bringing the change. Something that I can try out, something I can work. And the most important thing is whatever we do as part of our coding or the contributions that we make in tech, we can see the changes around us. For instance, I work for VMware, we work on different technologies, and I see many of the customers or like all the top 500, most of the Fortune 500s are our customers. And I try to see like, what are the kind of impacts that we have made? Starting from the banks or the mobile networks or whatever we see, right? I'll be able to connect back that, okay, I have contributed something to this domain as well. So that keeps me inspired to do something much better over the time.
Awesome. And we also got the question of what language would you suggest a new coder learn first? Now, we get this a lot at Women Who Code for people thinking about getting into tech. I'm not sure that there's a straightforward answer. I always tell people to find something you're excited about and go deep. But I'd love to hear from all of your perspectives. Is there a particular language you think people should start with? What do you think, Swati?
Yeah, what I would suggest is language is just one of the construct that how you instruct the computer to do the work. So language should not have the barrier. Rather, what I suggest is understand the basics of the fundamentals of the computer, programming, the data structures, all these aspects first, irrespective of whatever language, because if you look into the industry, none of the organizations say, okay, if you are well versed in only Java or only in Python, then we will hire you. Even if the requirement is for Python, but you say you are good in Java, people will still hire you because they look at what your fundamentals are, how good are you in the concepts. Learning a language should not be a challenge at all.
Awesome. Jane, what are your thoughts? Do you have anything specific or more general to add?
I think, most of the time when people ask me these type of questions, we usually ask, what do you want to build, for your projects or your project. That will be the start of how or what language they can choose. But most of the time when they express their like, for example, they want to build a website, they wanted to learn something new for data structures or data sciences, then we suggest to them to talk to people who know within our community, know about those subjects in our community. So for example, learning data sciences, most of people use Python or R, so they are directed to the members within the community to learn or even to know more about what's good about that. Yeah, so that's about it.
Great. Katarina?
Yeah, those are really great answers. I'll just go in a different route. So I work in the CS department, and so I got an undergrad in CS and as well as a master's in CS. And two of the languages that I never learned in those programs were Python and JavaScript. And I tell people just to learn Python and JavaScript. I'll tell you why. I think there's a lot of community available online. And I think in today's world, to get into the tech industry, people love to see what you've built. And so you need to start building some stuff. And I think they make it really easy to build some things, both of those languages, so JavaScript Node as well as Python. And then, you can pick if you want to do web full stack versus ML AI with Python. I do think there's a lot to learn in computer science, and I think you're going to need to learn all of it. But don't get discouraged if you don't know it all already. I feel like it's totally fine to learn as you go. It's totally okay to build some stuff, get a job, and then just keep learning. I feel like the way that I went through is I learned a bunch of fundamentals, and it still took me a really long time to figure out how to actually build things on my own and not just add features to this enterprise code base. And I'm really glad now that I can build some of those smaller projects that can be for myself or with just a couple of people. But even if you learn all the fundamentals, you still are going to forget them. So at some point you have to relearn them. So, I just get that job and then keep learning. Always keep learning.
That's amazing. I feel like tech is such a learning industry. You're always learning something new every day. Swati, you and Jane just had this amazing opportunity to work cross-culturally on a project. I feel like you all have such amazing experiences. Would you like to take a few minutes and just share what you were able to accomplish there and what you've learned in going through that process?
Yeah, for sure. This is one of the important initiatives that we came across, that is a community coach, where we wanted to help people outside of India, where we are educating them on emerging technology and with the help of VMware hands-on lab to get the kind of exposure to the technology. So basically what we tried to do as part of this initiative was engineers from VMware help the community, the passionate engineers from Taiwan, to learn the virtualization and cloud and Kubernetes concept in the English language, because as you people may know, couple of, especially in Asian countries, people prefer the communication to happen in local language. So we taught them in English. And Jane, would you like to quickly cover on how you are taking that to the next level?
Well, thank you, Sresa. So yeah, it's really an honor actually. When we thought about we need to have this type of initiative or trainings within our community, we actually need a lot of instructor related professionals in Taiwan, essentially, especially for cloud. So we reached out to VMware. Lily Chan is also a board member of Women Who Code to be able to start the conversation and kind of explore the opportunities. And we were connected to Shweta and Shweta's team at Women Who Code Bangalore. So we started to brainstorm what could be taught, and what would be the goal for the community coaches, because I think trainers model would be working if we can do this in Taiwan. And it was like, I think, half a year planning, and then for the last 7 months we were doing the implementation. Every week we meet with Shresa's team to be able to do the English coaching sessions, and we do a lot of hands-on lab together, and we even did webinars and also like workshops on site in Taiwan. So it's very interesting to have these type of experiences, especially for our community coaches that are interested to become the cloud infrastructure related community coach. So yeah, thank you so much, Reza, for everything.
This is something that Women Who Code is trying to bring the difference, not just working with their local chapters. Rather, the cross collaboration has helped to learn lots of new things, the kind of exposure that we all get to learn by training, and the trainees who will become the trainers. It is the trainer model. And I think this is going to create lots of opportunities for the next set of people. And we are going to have a better impact going forward.
Thank you so much. I think this description of this project takes me back to something you said, Katerina, about community. Find your community. And one of the most amazing things about Women Who Code, I agree with you, Shweta, it's that connection across. It's not just people sitting in your city or your office, it's people sitting around the world doing the same things that you love. And so I want to say a huge thank you for all of you for joining, for the community that joined for this discussion. Thank you for asking your questions. It's pretty cool that we can all four be sitting in different cities and be here to discuss leadership and technology. I invite all of you to come to a future event. And in closing, are there any last words of advice that you would give to someone in technology thinking about stepping into leadership? What would you say to them? Jane, you want to take it first?
Me? Okay. I think, being a founder and being, a long-time volunteer for Women Who Code also, I think I learned a lot regarding finding the right partners. And, to be able to become the managers or even being the leaders of tech, I think it's very important to find the right partners to help you. So, find the right sponsor, find the right partners around you, no matter they are the colleagues, they are the friends, they are probably other people's bosses. If they can be your partner along the way, you are being, like, at the minimum, you can be successful.
Amazing. Katerina?
Yeah, I would say if you have the opportunity to jump into a leadership role, do it. There's so much that, even if it doesn't turn out to be like the greatest thing in, initially, I think there's just such an incredible learning opportunity. You're going to take so much from it. And, more women need to be leaders in tech. So do it.
Thank you. Shweta?
Be passionate about whatever you do. irrespective of the achievements being big or small, appreciate your work as well as appreciate your peers' work. That builds a culture of confidence in the organization or in the community, which helps you grow a long way, grow together.
Amazing. Thank you all so much. Thank you to VMware for being an incredible partner and for having us here today. Take care, everyone. Bye.
Thank you guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.